Have you ever noticed that when you're under high pressure at work, your ability to perform at your peak seems to slip away on a daily basis? Your energy drops, your focus scatters, and your motivation just vanishes. If this happens week after week, you'll soon be heading towards burnout, which not only drains you of energy, but also steals your superpowers. The very skills that make you a great leader, your sharp thinking, your people skills, your ability to inspire, are stripped away until you struggle to get through the day. And the harder you push, the worse it seems to get. Now, this isn't just in your imagination. Deloitte's 2024 research reveals an alarming trend in professional burnout. A staggering 63% of workers now show at least one burnout symptom, from complete exhaustion to emotional detachment to declining performance. That's up from 51% just 3 years ago, indicating a crisis that's only gaining momentum. Now, these aren't just numbers, they represent real people struggling in silence behind office doors and behind Zoom screens. We're facing a crisis in which our best talent is quietly drowning in overwhelm. High performers are running on empty, and the very leaders who should be driving innovation and growth are just trying to survive their next meeting. And the cost isn't just financial, it's human. The solution isn't working harder or longer, it's working smarter by understanding how our brains and bodies perform at their best. My name is Duquemin, and for the past 2 decades I've dedicated my career to human performance and well-being. Firstly as an osteopath, then I expanded into acceptance and commitment therapy and mental fitness coaching. And having worked with over 5,000 clients in that time, I now specialise in helping ambitious professionals and leaders transform from burnout to sustainable peak performance. But this isn't just about professional expertise, it's actually also really personal to me, because in 2018 I experienced my own bout of burnout. I was running 2 businesses and working 12-hour days while neglecting my well-being, and that ended up with me suffering a cardiac emergency and spending 2 weeks in hospital. This was a massive wake-up call for me that chronic stress was destroying my health. But that crisis eventually became a catalyst for my own growth and recovery, because I spent the next 5 years immersing myself in neuroscience, positive psychology, different therapeutic processes, and peak performance research. This resulted in me creating my 3 brain training framework, a science-based approach I now use to help executives lead with clarity, focus, and alignment, without sacrificing their health or their happiness. But enough about me, because over the next few minutes I want to start addressing some commonly held beliefs maybe about how burnout, performance and well-being can be addressed in our professional and personal lives. So let's start with the key belief. Burnout never has to be the price of success. In today's world, we're always on. Emails, notifications and demands keep our brains in constant overdrive, blurring the line between work and home life. And then there's the sheer volume of information you're expected to process from social media, 24-hour news channels and technology. It's no wonder that we're all feeling so stressed or overthinking all the time. Hustle culture tells us to push harder, but without recovery, burnout's inevitable. So let's start looking a little bit deeper at exactly what the problem is here. You see, everyday stressors like deadlines or tough conversations trigger your survival brain, keeping you in fight or flight mode instead of feeling focused and calm. No matter how hard you try, your system can never reset, leaving you drained and unable to perform at your peak. The problem is, our brains and bodies weren't built for this modern world. Our DNA is still very much wired for survival in a simpler environment, one where threats were physical and short-lived, like running from a predator. Back then, stress was generally a temporary state. Our nervous system reset once the danger was gone, allowing us to rest and recover. But today, these same primal systems are being hijacked by modern stressors. Emails, deadlines, constant notifications, and social pressures. Now, these aren't life-threatening, but your brain doesn't know the difference. It reacts the same way, flooding your body with stress hormones like cortisol, keeping you in a constant fight or flight mode. And because these threats never stop, your system struggles to recover, and over time this wreaks havoc on your focus, energy, and emotional resilience. And let's drop another core belief in here. Leadership and peak performance start from within. Traditional leadership often has it backwards. We're taught to focus on everything outside ourselves: strategies, tactics, and quick fixes for team issues. It's all about what leaders should do rather than who they need to be. Think about it. We're sending stressed out leaders to manage stressed out teams, armed with nothing but surface level tools and techniques. We treat the symptoms of poor performance and team conflicts while ignoring what's going on under the hood. The truth is, you can't lead others effectively until you can lead yourself. All the leadership techniques in the world won't help if your system is running on empty. It's like the old adage of fitting your own oxygen mask before helping others. Performing at your best starts from looking inside, understanding how your brain, body, and nervous system work together to shape your performance, decisions, and impact on others. But here's the good news. Everything else becomes clearer when you learn to regulate your system. Your leadership doesn't just look better, it feels better both for you and your team. And the best news is that this translates back into your personal life, where you feel more energized and present for family and friends and those around you. And this leads me to another dominant attitude that we need to unpick. Just push through it has become the battle cry of modern business. Here's the problem with that approach. Your brain and body weren't designed for constant pushing. They were designed for rhythms, periods of intense focus, followed by real rest and recovery. Just like our ancestors who hunted and then rested. But somewhere along the way, stress has become a status symbol. We've all seen it: competitive exhaustion and pride in pulling all-nighters. I once had a client who'd schedule emails for 11 o'clock at night just to look like he was burning the midnight oil. And this always-on attitude is not only unhealthy, but it's also very expensive. When we consistently work over 40 hours, our decision making takes a nosedive, and push that to 50 plus hours, and the costs are staggering at both a personal and business level. Rand Europe found that fatigue-related poor decisions and lost productivity cost the UK economy $40 billion annually. So the key move here is to learn when to push and when to pause. Because it's not about working less, it's about working smarter, in sync with how your brain and body performs at its best. Think of your nervous system as your leadership operating system. When it runs smoothly, everything works better. Your decisions are sharper, your thinking is clearer, and your connections with others are more authentic. It's like upgrading your entire leadership capability from the inside out. Try to picture two leaders facing the same crisis. The first stays calm, thinks clearly, and guides their team through the storm. The second reacts to stress, spreads anxiety, and makes decisions they later regret. Same situation with completely different outcomes, all because of what's happening in that leader's nervous system. But here's where it gets interesting, because your internal state isn't just about you. It ripples through your entire team. When you're regulated, you create psychological safety for your team. Innovation flows, conflicts are resolved constructively, and your team culture strengthens naturally. And that means that great leadership isn't just about what you know, it's about how well you can regulate your system. Because when you're running at your best, your team can too. And this leads me on to the next belief I want to offer you, which is in the power of science-backed transformation. Because most leadership training is flawed. It overloads the learner with knowledge, more strategies, more tools, more techniques. But here's what the neuroscience tells us. Knowing what to do doesn't automatically mean that you'll follow through and do it. Why? Because, well, your brain has one primary job, keeping you alive. And when pressure ramps up, your sophisticated thinking brain gets hijacked by your primal survival instincts. That's why you can know exactly what you should do, but end up doing something completely different in the heat of the moment. And traditional coaching often misses the mark too, because it's like trying to solve a hardware problem with software solutions. You can't think your way out of a stress response any more than you can talk yourself out of a panic attack. So we need to start working with your whole system, not just your thinking brain. Real transformation starts when you understand how your brain and body actually process stress and actually makes decisions. When you work with your biology instead of against it, all those brilliant strategies can finally do their job. And to help you do this, I'd like to introduce you to my 3-brain framework. Think of this as your internal orchestra, Not one instrument, but three sections playing together: your survival brain, your feeling brain, and your thinking brain. The survival brain is your percussion section, primal, powerful, setting the basic rhythm of life. The feeling brain is the string section, creating emotional resonance and harmony with others. Whilst the thinking brain is your wind section, adding complexity, nuance and interpretation. Now these sections evolved to create beautiful music together. The problem is that modern life often throws them out of tune. It's like having each section play from a different score. You just get noisy chaos instead of a symphony. But the good news is that once you understand how these sections should interact, you can help them regain their harmony. Everything changes when they're in sync. Your energy flows, your focus sharpens, and your performance reaches new heights. So let's explore each section and see how you can begin to fine-tune each one. So we'll start with the survival brain. Now your survival brain is more than just a control center. It's a full-on body surveillance system, constantly on guard. When it spots danger, it instantly triggers your entire system. Your heart speeds up, muscles braces, and digestion pauses. All this happens in a split second, preparing you to face whatever threat it sees in front of it. It communicates to you through your body. That racing heart, tight chest, or gut feeling isn't random. These physical signals are your survival brain's warning system, working faster than conscious thought. Before you even realize why, your body is already responding to protect you. Unlike your rational mind, your survival brain is like a detailed memory bank of every stressful experience you've ever had. For example, perhaps you gave a challenging presentation 10 years ago in which you fluffed your lines and froze up in front of a few hundred people. Well, your survival brain remembers that, and it might still sound the alarm when you step up to speak today, even if you're in a perfectly safe environment. Now, this system is brilliant at keeping us alive, but the problem is, in today's world, where most threats are psychological rather than physical, it can get stuck on high alert. When that happens, you're always running on emergency power, exhausting your energy, clouding your judgment, and keeping you locked in a stress cycle that's hard to break. So moving on to the feeling brain, well, this is your emotional interpreter. It turns physical signals into meaningful experiences. For example, when you get butterflies in your stomach, your feeling brain decides whether that means anxiety or excitement. It's constantly in conversation with your gut through a unique nerve highway, which is why emotions feel so physical, and your mood is deeply connected to your digestive system. Think of it as your internal compass, helping you to navigate towards what feels good and away from what doesn't feel good. It takes raw data from your survival system like a racing heart and gives it meaning based on the situation. The same physical sensation might mean danger in one moment or thrilling anticipation in another. It's also your relationship center. It's what helps you bond with others, from the first connections between parent and child through to every meaningful relationship in your life. These emotional bonds aren't just nice to have, they're essential for human survival and growth. When your feeling brain is balanced, it guides you towards authentic connections and helps you stay true to your values. But when it's overwhelmed, everything intensifies. Stress feels bigger, emotions run higher, and staying present becomes a real challenge. And then finally, your thinking brain. Well, this is your executive center. It handles complex tasks like planning, problem solving, decision making, and creating meaning and purpose in your life. When you're calm and well rested, it works brilliantly, helping you solve problems, set goals, and envision your future clearly. But there's a problem. Your thinking brain needs steady energy and a calm environment. When stress kicks in, your body diverts resources to survival mode, literally reducing blood flow to your thinking centers. This is why thinking straight or making decisions under pressure becomes so hard. And while this system is incredibly sophisticated, it can also work against you. Under stress, it can get caught in loops of overthinking or worst case scenarios. Instead of helping you solve problems, it can keep you spinning in circles of overanalysis and worry. And when we rely too heavily on thinking and logic, especially during stressful times, we can lose touch with the important signals from our body and from our emotions. And this creates a disconnect that I call thinking brain override. You might know exactly what you should do, but feel completely unable to take action. So how do we put this all together? Well, high performance results from harmonious work of all three of these systems, the survival brain, the feeling brain, and the thinking brain working together as one. But when one dominates, it throws the whole system out of balance, leading to overwhelm, brain fog, and eventually burnout. Once we understand how our three-brain system works, and if we can get around to rejecting the myth that burnout is necessary for success, we can then start to design a completely different approach to performance. Now let's push this home with another core belief I want you to think about. It's the belief in sustainable high performance that works with your biology instead of against it. When all these three systems work together smoothly, you unlock a different kind of performance. This isn't just theory, it's backed by neuroscience and proven in practice. And the key shift here is moving from willpower to working with your body's natural rhythms. And this means catching early warning signals from your body before they become a problem. It means consciously shifting your mental state to match different tasks. You begin to work in harmony with your natural energy peaks and valleys, and you use strategic rest to build momentum instead of pushing on until exhaustion. And what makes this approach so powerful is its compound effect. You build greater capacity every time you work with your system instead of against it. Unlike traditional push harder methods, which eventually lead to burnout, this method creates an upward spiral. Each improvement becomes the foundation for the next. Think of it as building fitness for your nervous system. Just as physical training strengthens you over time, this approach builds your resilience, your mental capacity, your mental fitness, allowing you to perform better whilst feeling better. And let's use the example of Katie, a recent client of mine, because her story reveals the hidden cost of chronic workplace stress. Katie was a talented executive in a financial services firm, and she was shocked when she broke down in tears during a confrontation with her boss over a project dispute. Despite knowing that she was in the right, the weeks of relentless pressure had left her unable to think clearly or to defend herself effectively. What appeared to be a simple leadership challenge had become overwhelming, not due to a lack of capability on her part, but because prolonged stress had depleted her resilience. The turning point for Katie came when she learned to recognise and manage the connection between her survival instincts and her emotional processing and her analytical capabilities. By addressing her burnout, restoring her mental clarity, she discovered that sustainable leadership isn't about pushing harder. It's about aligning her whole system for optimal performance. And this transformation showed that even brilliant leaders can't avoid burnout. But by maintaining mental fitness, they can achieve a greater impact, less effort, whilst preserving their well-being. And there's a final belief shift I would love you to make, and that is in the belief in coherent leadership. Coherent leadership means aligning your thoughts, feelings, and physical state. When these three systems work in harmony, you tap into a natural power that transforms how you lead. When this happens, your thoughts are clear about the goal, your emotions fully support it, and your body is energetically ready for taking action. No more inner conflict or mixed signals. This explains why truly aligned leaders have such natural influence. When you achieve this state, decision-making becomes smoother because your whole system agrees. Your presence grows stronger without forcing it. Creativity flows more freely without internal blocks. Teams naturally follow because they feel your authentic conviction. And leading change becomes easier because, hey, you're embodying it. This goes beyond personal impact. When leaders operate from coherence, it creates a ripple effect. Teams sync up so much more effectively. Organizations become more adaptable. Workplace cultures balance well-being with results. Coherent leadership is not about pushing harder or knowing more, but about aligning your whole system. It's already working in organizations worldwide, showing us that sustainable success comes from working with our biology, not against it. Now, this isn't just a new leadership theory, it's a practical path to transformation that honours how humans work at their best. So if you'd like to learn more and are ready to discover where you stand, Why not take my Burnt Out or Bulletproof scorecard? In just around 20 questions, you'll uncover precisely how your 3 brain systems perform, and you'll get a personalised roadmap to bring them into powerful alignment. So don't just guess what your next steps will be. Click on the link below in the notes below and start your journey to sustainable high performance today. Take care.